So we are now towards the end of Matthew's Gospel. We're going to have here now the middle of three parables that come towards the climax of the Gospel, and they're all parables of judgment. This is from chapter 25, the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like this. 10 bridesmaids took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, all of them became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a shout, "Look, here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all those bridesmaids got up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise replied, "No, there will not be enough for you and for us. You had better go to the dealers and buy some for yourselves." And while they went to buy it, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him into the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other bridesmaids came also, saying, "Lord, open to us." But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I do not know you. Keep awake then, for you know neither the day nor the hour." Well, I always think it's important with the parables of Jesus to look for the surprises, to look for the things that go against what one's expectations might be of how the story is going to unfold. I mean, here's the heart of it, the core of it, a fairly straightforward story, a fairly straightforward image of what it means to be spiritual and godly people, to be like young girls expectant of arrival of a bridegroom, holding lamps, shining forth light. The two surprises, there might be more, but the two that particularly strike me, first of all, are those extra flasks of oil, because there's a delay in the return of the bridegroom. There's going to be a need for some supplementary resources, something extra in the tank. And the second surprise is that when it comes to the moment of crisis, when it comes to the midnight hour, when the bridegroom finally arrives after his delay, it appears there is now no opportunity for the wise to give to the foolish. And that seems strange, or that actually seems scandalous, one might almost say, in the context of a gospel and an understanding of Jesus' teaching and whole way of being, that it's about generosity, it's about grace, it's about compassion, it's about supporting one another in the road of discipleship. Why is it that the wise cannot help the foolish? And surely the only logical conclusion is that whatever these flasks of oil represent, and there was obviously some element of representation here, that oil is something that simply cannot be shared. It's not the meanness of the wise bridesmaids. It is that here is oil that cannot be lent or given, but has to be taken for oneself. And there are things in life, aren't there, which you have to do for yourself. People can help you in all kinds of ways. We can help one another in all kinds of ways. But there are some times in life, some experiences and some things about our life experiences where we have to make the journey for ourselves. And I wonder if that's what's going on here. This is a parable of judgment. It's a parable of that ultimate moment of crisis and judgment when God's kingdom is finally brought into existence. But I wonder if there's something for our more everyday experience in the here and now. asking, what is it? What does that flask represent in our ordinary experience? That thing that is both essential but also cannot be given one to another, but has to be taken for oneself. I'm struck by my experiences as a pastor, somebody who offers pastoral care to other people. And you meet somebody in some kind of distress or need, and often the temptation is to try to meet that need in a very direct way. How can I help you? What can I give you that will help you through this crisis? And of course, that's absolutely vital. We do that as human beings, never mind as disciples of Jesus. How can I meet your need? But I'm often profoundly aware of the limitation of what I can give to that other person in their moments of crisis. That large extent to which the person that I'm facing needs to find the resources within themselves to get them through the current moment. And I can do something in that situation, and the most useful tool in the pastor's toolbox is a listening ear to allow the other person to tell their story, to talk about their feelings, to say where they think they're at. And in that conversation, it is my experience often, the person in need starts to find their own solutions to their problems, starts to get agency, you might say, starts to get into the driving seat and think, well, okay, so maybe this is the way forward. But it's a journey that they need to make. They need to find the oil in their flask. And you can help them. You can be a fellow journeyer, a traveller on the journey. But ultimately, they have to find the oil in their tank. And that's surely true in particular of our spiritual journeys. It's about resilience, I guess, at the end of the day. And in the context of the parable, our spiritual resilience for what will always be a challenging journey for anyone who follows or seeks to follow Jesus. And of course, we face all our own challenges, whether they're personal ones or social ones or community ones, of course, in the times we find ourselves in at the moment. And we certainly need resilience to see us through. And there are many ways in which we can help one another. But one of the fundamental things we need, that oil in the tank, that oil in the flask, is that sense of confidence in who we are as beloved children of God. Children who are embraced with that gracious love of God, which will always see us through all things. Now, I can tell you that. I can preach about that. I can theologize about that for you, and maybe you could do that back to me. But at the end of the day, that will only give us resilience if that's an understanding we've come to ourselves and our own heart and our own journey of discipleship and our own answer to the call of Jesus Christ to follow him. What is that oil, that flask, that extra, that reserve that gives us the resilience? That we can help one another and share the journey together, but ultimately has to be our responsibility to be the wise of the earth.